What's going on, everybody? It's the Scene Snob, Mick Manhattan, and I'm here to tell you guys about the scenesnobs.com. We're a channel of variety, comedy, entertainment, geek-related, sports, the whole nine yards. We cover almost every genre. And we have so many great shows to choose from. We have shows like the Scene Snobs Podcast, BTB Podcast, The Guapo Show, the Sports Snobs Podcast, the PVD Cast, Jeff Dwoskin presents Crossing the Streams, the Three Geeks Podcast, the Fandom Effect. We probably have the only Matlock-based podcast called Matt Talk, and we're introducing new shows all the time. We have new shows coming up like the Ear Hustling Podcast, Carpool Shenanigans, and of course, From Some Nobodies, Twitching Upstream, and Talking Upstream. So come on, check out the scenesnobs.com, enjoy it, and please leave feedback. Like, follow, subscribe us, and just let us know what you think. We love to have all the interaction. So I, again, am the Scene Snob, Mick Manhattan. Check out thescenesnobs.com. You can follow us anywhere on social media at The Scene Snob, and we will talk to you guys soon. Take care. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Scene Snob Interviews. I am Mick Manhattan, the Scene Snob, and joined with me today is one great director with a great movie out right now called Willy's Wonderland. Mr. Kevin Lewis is here. How you doing, Kevin? Thanks for coming on the show, man.
Thank you for having me.
And I got to see it in the theater here. My local theater's open.
Oh, you did? Oh,
yeah.
That's awesome.
And I'm friends with the owner, and we were talking about it because he saw it too, and he loved it. And
man, that's cool.
It went on for 3 weeks there, man.
That's so cool.
You know,
that's great.
So yeah, we were talking about the other day, and he was just like, dude, he's like, I was so excited when it was coming because he's a big horror fan too, and Nic Cage, of course. So we were like, Nic Cage in it, we're going to see it.
Yeah.
And so he was like, yeah, we got it in the theater, and people were coming out, man. He was like, it's great.
Wow.
Like,
that's awesome. I was a projectionist when I went to USC Film School, and I was a projectionist on my jobs, and I would do some of the classes, and then they had films at Friday night that students would pay like $3 to go in, and they had a retrospective, Blade Runner, I mean, all the cool stuff, especially on 35, and I was the projectionist, so I would go up there and wind the film up and everything. So and I worked at a movie theater. I'm from Denver, Colorado, and on a theater, there's a Continental movie theater that was right next to my house. That was where I saw Jedi for the first time, and they showed 70 millimeter. It was one theater, and they showed 70 millimeter movies. And I worked there when they had Die Hard and Willow. It was so funny because we had Willow, and it played forever. Got so tired of that movie, and Mad Monaghan, I still know it by heart. Anyways, and then they were supposed to get Red Heat because that was, of course, Arnold was huge. So it was like, oh, we're gonna get Red Heat. And then I was like, no, we're not gonna get Red Heat. We're gonna get this this action movie with the lead from Moonlighting, the show. And it was like, huh? What, really? And I remember the first night Die Hard opened, and the line was like wrapped around the theater, and I had to go down there, and the manager was doing the projection because he didn't trust anybody, and he screwed it up, and the film burned, and so I had to go down there, and it was a huge crowd, it was so packed, and I had to say, excuse me, ladies and gentlemen, the presentation of Die Hard, you suck, and they're throwing stuff at me, so we got another film print fast, and they played it, and it was a little late. Then I went and saw it like at midnight, and anyways, I'd go on things. I'm sorry, but yeah. So
no, please do. I love that.
You talking about movies like in a theater, you're in, the theater owner, and like that's music to my ears, man. Like I'm just so happy, Yeah,
it's a local Alamo here, and they were actually
awesome.
They opened in July, so they were. They kind of set the protocols for what movie theaters can do during COVID.
Okay.
And they were writing down the rules, and like people were visiting from all over to kind of learn what they were doing. And man, I've been going since July, since they opened, and I feel safe every time, man.
Good. That's good.
They handle it in just the best way, and
That's great.
So, yeah. And as soon as Willy's Wonderland came out, I was like, yeah, I'm going. I'm
That's cool. I saw it at the drive-in last week, and that was really cool because like all the scenes when Nic taking out the animatronics and the pinball, like people were honking their horns and flashing their lights, and that was pretty cool.
It's to kind of get into it a little bit. That's like a great movie for it. What you did for that, because like there's so much visual and nostalgia in it that it's just, I could see that at a drive-in. Now I want to see it at the drive-in.
Yeah.
See everybody kind of like being into it, like that Rocky Horror feel, like where there's something.
Totally. Oh, it was so cool, man. Like right before, it's the Frida Cinema. They're having it Thursday again, and in Orange County. And right before, they were showing trailers, like all the old trailers. And they showed Rocky Horror, which was so cool. And they're going to have Godzilla, the original Godzilla, and the original King Kong double feature. And I'm just watching all this stuff and going, man, my movie, and The Shining too, my favorite horror movie. And I'm just watching these trailers, going, man, my movie's playing here. This is just like rad, man. Like it's awesome. And it was a double feature with Psycho Gorman.
Nice, that's great double feature. Yeah. Wow, that's awesome. One thing I really loved about Willy's Wonderland too is that you need a sequel, because I need more of the Janitor.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Everybody's pumped about it. It's great.
We were all, a bunch of us were talking, because I've just been praising it and everybody went to go see it. We were like, okay, we're trying to figure out, like, I know it's not our place, but we're doing it anyway.
No, I love it. I love it, man. This is what I made the movie for, is film fans, it's great. Let's hear it.
Like my thing was like with the Janitor, I was like, I didn't need him connected to the story in any way. And I'm not going to spoil too much because I want everybody to see it. Yeah. I didn't need him connected to the story of the town in any way. But I was like, this would be awesome if this is what he does. He just travels from town to town and maybe takes out like urban legends or monsters.
I think Gio, okay, that's kind of cool you said that. So Gio, the writer, he said that originally he had where the last scene is he leaves and he like pulls over to the side of the car or whatever, and he pulls out a book and has all these different things like you said, and Willy's Wonderland, he crosses it out. But then you see like the other stuff that he's going. So like it's so cool that you brought that up. That was the writer's idea. Yeah.
Because and I mean the fact that he doesn't say a word in the entire film, but it's Nic Cage, man. He brings the presence everywhere he goes. I gotta ask, how was it working with him, man, especially in that manner?
Oh, it's incredible. I mean, like I said, I'll say three things about Nic. Like amazing actor. We all know, Academy Award winner, incredible. He's a genre to himself. Also a fantastic partner to make a movie with. I mean, just incredible. And number three, the most important thing is like a decent human being. Like, what a great guy. Like, good chi, man. I'm telling you, like, he spoiled me. I mean, it was amazing. We didn't get one creative disagreement. We saw the movie eye to eye. He worked his butt off, man, working with those stunts for the animatronic fight scenes. He would be watching me set up shots, and he'd come in, and he would take second team. Second team would be there, and second team would leave, and he would be there holding the punch pop for the lens for the camera to see the focal length. I mean, he's not hanging in his trailer. He was there.
That is so awesome.
Great guy, man. One of my favorite things is hearing his boots clump the set when these action moments, when action scenes are going to happen. You knew he was just prepared. You hear this clump, clump, clump. It's like, yep, Nic's coming, man. He's going to throw down. He's ready.
He just was ready, man. You could tell. I was a filmmaker back in the day. Before I got into this, and one thing I can appreciate that I've come away with. That I've learned is when you watch a movie, you can tell when everybody on screen is actually enjoying making this movie. Mm-hmm. It does shine through. And in Willy's Wonderland, man, everybody enjoyed that.
Michael, that's so cool you say that, because that's the truth. Their cast, crew, smiles on their faces from beginning to they left the set, man. Talking about it. Everybody was so excited. I would talk to Nic every day, every night about the next day in the scene or whatever. And it's like, it was just such a passion for this movie. And it was like a family making this film, and everybody just got along, and it was just wonderful, you know.
I going back, you said your favorite movie is The Shining. Favorite horror movie is The Shining.
Yeah,
which, in my opinion, is probably the greatest horror movie of all time.
Yeah.
And that's a movie, as I got older, became more and more scary to me.
Yeah, because it's psychological, right? I mean, I saw it as a little kid, but as you get older and you start, going through life and having your trials and tribulations, and then you see like the character that Jack plays, and you see, with the family and everything. I have 4 kids, so you just, as you get older, you start realizing little things, and you pick up things on that movie every time you watch it that you didn't even see before. I mean, it's just a masterpiece. The other movie that really inspired me to make Willy's too, and just my favorite movie, of course, is Evil Dead 2. Sam Raimi, my favorite director. Like, for me, he can do no wrong. Like, I love Sam Raimi, and when I read the script for Willy's, that's what I wanted to do. Just bring fun back to the movies a little bit, That's what he did, and he does,
So, and you did, man. You did.
Yeah. Oh, thank you, buddy. Thank you.
It was so awesome watching this, because and you know what? I'm so glad you said Evil Dead and Dead 2, because those, again, are 2 movies you can tell everybody had fun while making them.
Absolutely.
Wonderland is right up there with that just craziness, but it's a very cool, fun, contained story.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we had 20 days to shoot, so I did you said you directed movies before, which is great. I did like a 70-page shot list before the movie started, before pre-production, and it was called the Willy's Bible, and man, I just stuck by that thing. And so this wasn't a movie where we were just going to go find ourselves and what we felt like. It was a very precise film that I wanted, and it's great. I think I walked out about 85 to 90% with that shot list. I also shot the cut, so I knew like we didn't have a lot of takes, and I told Nic that, and I felt kind of bad about it. And I was like, well, Nic, I only have 2 to 3 takes, and he's like, well, Kevin, I like to get in 1. He's like, that's so awesome, and he did, and so. So there was not a lot of time wasted on this stuff, man. It was very well thought out and prepared. It's funny, because you read some reviews and it's like, yeah, they just paid Nic Cage to show up and whatever. And it's like, man, these guys have no clue what they're talking about. No. I mean, Molly Coffey, production designer, she worked so hard, her team building Willy's and putting that together. Dave Newbert, my DP, man. It's like, we did a thing called Rage Cage or Cage Rage. Every time he gets upset, he spikes the animatronics. So we did a thing where you undercrank the camera like at 18 frames per second, and he's like shaking the camera. And then we had guys taking flashlights and putting it into the lens and get those cosmic lens flares, So that was kind of our Rage Cage. Like every time you'd fight, we want to do something unique and cool and stylistic and different,
Yeah, and that's perfect too, because it matches up well. I mean, he's fighting animatronic, machines, in the movie. So it's just. Yeah, I'm thinking about it now, and I didn't put that together. But with the fight scene between the man and this machine, that was great camera work. That's awesome.
Yeah, we want to just do different like action sequences. I never wanted to be the same. People get tired of it, so every action sequence you can see is shot a little differently, and choreographed a little differently. And like I said, 20 days. So the first week we were out on location shooting all the stuff outside Willy's and the car, the driving and all that, and then the next week for 3 weeks we were just inside Willy's, and it was like a 6 to 8 page day every day. I mean, it was just a grind, So you had to be prepared, had to know what you're doing, And
you don't really, there's nothing left out either. And to praise the production design, a little bit, it was fantastic. So I loved the Chuck E. Cheese vibe.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it matches well. Like, it had that look, it had that feel. I love that you keep cutting back and forth between the, flashbacks of what it once was to what it is now. And it helps because he's cleaning everything. And the bathroom looked immaculate after it was done.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how did he do this?
It's funny. So it was tough with the schedule because it was like dirty, clean, all that stuff. So when we started shooting, and the AD, was driving him nuts. So when we started shooting, we were like, okay, everything's clean. So we shoot everything clean. Then we're going to go back to some sets, do some stuff over here. While we're doing this, production design set that they're making everything dirty. And so like the opening, it's so interesting. So like the first day of shooting, the first shot of the day is him giving the punch pop to Liv at the end of the movie. First shot. And then when we got into Willy's that Monday, that first week, first thing was Nic, the Freebird basically, and him giving the keys and all that. Like that was like, talk about out of sequence and out of order, right? And so I had to get all that because that was all clean. Then we would go to another set, shoot, they would dirty it up, come back, it would be all dirty. So once you were done with the cleaning, man, the clean set, you know, and Molly would always clean. Are you sure you're done? Are you sure? You know, and I'd be like, yeah, okay, I'm done. You have nightmares at night going, God, did I get everything? Did I get everything? You know, but so it's interesting you said that because that's what it is. It was back and forth. And on the movie, you know, it's the movie, but you like it's crazy, like, you know, trying to set that up and schedule wise, you know.
Yeah. Well, you know, one thing I wanted to ask about too, from script to screen, like when you guys were in pre-production and going through, was Nic Cage always attached from the beginning, you know, in your head, or were you?
So it's kind of a cool story. So Jessica Davis, who plays Siren Sarah, she was in an acting class with Geo Parsons, who wrote the script. And so she read the script and liked it. She brought it to her husband, Jeremy Daniel Davis, who's a producer. Jeremy and I go way back in the day. He brought it to me and I liked it. So I got some artwork done for it, some kind of conceptual drawings and keyframes and creature drawings and stuff. And then we decided, you know what, who's the best one for this is Nic. And so we went after him, you know, got a casting director and went and made an offer, and his manager liked it. And then from then Nic read it and liked it and was on board. And it was almost a year until we were shooting, you know.
Nice.
So we were working with another company, and that didn't work out. And so we had to figure this out. But so Nic is loyal, man. What a great guy.
That's awesome.
You know,
but did the Janitor ever have lines or of dialogue in the script, or was that something you guys came up with talking to Nic and just a vision you had?
No, that was Geo's script. No lines except at the very end when he sees Willy, he had one line. It was "Come at me, bro," and I was just like, you know, you got to get a line. I was, of course, with the Evil Dead vibe. I was thinking, is it more like a groovy, you know, yo, she bitch, let's go, or like, hey, it's birthday time, you know, that kind of thing. And it's like, is it a one-liner? I'm kind of making a vintage 80s movie. It doesn't take place in the 80s, but it has that feel. So giving it a cheesy line would be okay. And all these things thinking back about it, like, you know, he doesn't speak. So when he says one line, it has to be very important and really be kind of iconic, right? Mm-hmm. So I was struggling with that. And then talking to Nic, Nic's like, you know, the Janitor doesn't speak unless he feels like he has to, and he doesn't have to, because he looked at these creatures like trash. That was his point of view. They're trash. They're nothing to him. And so basically we just decided, you know what, no line. But what's kind of cool is when he comes out of the kitchen and the camera pushes in, I was building it up for like, okay, here comes the line, guys. Here it is, you know, and then he doesn't say it, you know, so it was kind of cool.
Dude, it really, I think that worked better personally. I mean, and listen, I'm just as a fan, like saying like, I just like the fact that he said nothing all the way through. He's just this guy. It's funny, buddy, because, you know, I'm with you and a lot of people are with us, but then there's some people and they go off, you know. I saw this one review a friend sent me or something, and he's like, having Nicolas Cage, like they missed the thing on Willy's, having Nicolas Cage not speak is like having Gene Kelly in a wheelchair. And I'm like, really, man? Like, no way. Like, there's not a lot of actors that could do what he did. And, you know, all this time about, it's so funny because like working with Nic, I feel like defensive with him, you know, of him, because I get so ticked off. Like people come out and do the memes and the crazy eyes and all this stuff and take his monologues and cut it together and make all it. And I'm like, man, you guys, you don't know how hard this is. And I like to see you in front of a camera, you know, and everything. And for me, it was like, what a challenge. And he picked up the challenge. He was all for it. He was excited about it. And a lot of actors can hide behind dialogue. It's easy to do some dialogue and hide behind. He had nothing, man. It's all just, you know, action on his part. Yeah.
And to me, you can't keep your eyes off the guy. I just think he's incredible in this movie, you know? And so I'm so glad you feel the same way, because name me 5 movies that the lead character doesn't speak. I mean, Drive, which is one of my favorite movies the last 10 years,
Yeah.
he speaks. He doesn't speak a lot, and especially in the beginning, right? But he does speak. And we talked about Valhalla Rising, Mads Mikkelsen, amazing. I was like, I think he speaks near the end. I think, but it's like Charles Bronson was what fueled Nick from Once Upon a Time in the West.
Oh yeah,
That's what inspired him. But I was like, name 5 movies that a guy, you know. And I just thought how cool this is, you know. And so, but that was in the original script, and that's what I liked about it. You know, that, wow, you know.
One of my biggest arguments too with you know, when I talk about movies, is one of the best openings to a movie I've ever seen was Rio Bravo, and that's because for like first 5 to 7 minutes nobody speaks, and you know everything that's going on in that movie.
Love it.
You know, you got visual. The whole backstory, the whole nine.
Yeah, that's what movies are, right? They're like a visual medium, and so I just think that, like, that to me is really well, you know, directing cinema. You know, when you can take those and put that together, make a story, and you're not even using dialogue. You know, it's just the visuals. I love that personally. You know, so.
Oh yeah, I mean, Nick for one, like, is such a great actor. I mean, if you watch Leaving Las Vegas, but then watch The Rock, and then watch this,
I know
3 completely different performances.
What's funny is one of my favorite Nic Cage movies. I told him this too when I met him. Was Vampire's Kiss. I love that movie.
Great movie.
I love that movie, and you'd be surprised too. I bring it up to a lot of people. A lot of people haven't seen it. They're huge Nic Cage fans. They've never seen it, and that was my first Nic Cage movie. That and like Racing with the Moon and Rumblefish back in the day. But he has such a great filmography. It's just incredible.
Yeah.
But there's also, like you said, you know, there's movies that you think you know he does, and you're like, Mandy and Face Off, or you know, Leaving Las Vegas. Like, he's so versatile and has so many. God, he's got so many great films. I mean, anybody should be lucky to have his filmography, right? He's a genre to himself. He really is.
He really is. You're absolutely right. And like, Mandy was my favorite movie of 2018.
Love Mandy, hands
down. Like, it was just
amazing. It's gorgeous. It's incredible. I love the whole heavy metal vibe to it. You know, from the heavy metal magazine and the creatures, and just had like a Frank Frazetta.
And everything is just like slightly off and moving and like everywhere. And you know, that was one thing like with Willy's. I still love what you did there, because it's not. They're not. I'm not comparing the two, but you had such a clean movie for such a gory movie.
Yeah,
it's still so easy on the eyes.
Yeah,
if that makes sense, you know, like when you're watching this.
It's funny because I always use the word colorful dark on the movie, because it's a dark subject matter, right? Because it's like we're taking a kid's. When I grew up with Showbiz Pizza, Chuck E. Cheese, and you're taking this and you're turning on its head, and so it's kind of twisted and kind of dark. But I want to make it colorful because that's what these places are. You know, and you got to keep to that thing. So you can't make this dark and moody. You got to make it pastels and stuff, but give it this weirdness, you know, this otherworldness, cosmic thing to it. And that's what I talked about Dave Newbert, the DP. We talk about movies like Revenge, the movie that came out years ago. I love that movie. It's so well made, well shot, man. It's beautiful.
Bright use of colors in that too.
Oh yeah, totally. There's another movie we loved called oh gosh, I always keep forgetting. It's called Concrete. Oh my gosh. Well, I'll remember it. And you know, I just love the way the style. I think it was a husband and wife directed it. Anyways, I'll remember it in a minute. But these are the movies that we watched that we just loved. And it was like, man, I want to make something like this, inject this into Willy's, you know? And of course, Evil Dead was just, you know, Evil Dead 2.
It's a perfect representation of it too. Like it is, because again, like you can't really compare it. You can call it horror comedy, but it's not even like, it's more than, and like, I don't want to push it too far, because like Willy's isn't Shaun of the Dead. It's not in the sense of comedy, like Tucker and Dale versus Evil. Like, it's almost slapstick, you know?
Yeah.
Whereas with Willy's, it's much more serious tone, but it plays for smiles. I'll say more than so much laughs.
Yes,
like
that's what I wanted.
Like when you watch Evil Dead, you're like, oh, that's awesome, you know?
Totally, absolutely. That's what I wanted, you know?
Nice.
I think it was Let the Corpses Tan. That was it. Did you see that?
No, I need to.
Let the Corpses Tan. It was really, I mean, directing on that film, it was shots and everything. It's amazing. Yeah.
Oh, I'll definitely check that out.
Let the Corpses Tan. You'll dig it. But
awesome.
Yeah, so I wanted to do that and just kind of a vintage vibe to the 80s, the era I grew up in, you know, and that's why we had the ringer shirt was like shout out to the old Star Wars 70s ringers with the decal, you know.
I wanted one of those shirts too. I saw it.
Yeah, man. Yeah. And then
like they have a whole stack. He's putting them on.
It was so cool. I talked to one gal. She said, I loved your movie so much. She said, I watched it at midnight, couldn't sleep. And she said, like at 1 o'clock in the morning, I'm pounding Diet Dr. Peppers, like the janitor, you know. It's great.
That is awesome, man.
It's so funny because some people, you know, like reviews, you know, and they're like, we have no reason, we don't understand why he drinks and this and that. I'm like, man, you guys, do you need a reason for everything? Like, can't you just like sit back and enjoy? I think we lost that a little bit, right? Everything has to be a message and everything has to be, you know, you learn something. And I was like, back in the 80s, like I said, these movies, Return of the Living Dead, and they're just fun, man, you know. And it's funny because some people are like, oh, you have to have rocks in your head that, you know, like Willy's. And it's like, well, I got rocks in my head because if I didn't direct this movie, I sure as heck would love it and watch it and enjoy it, you know. I mean, it's Nic Cage versus animatronic Weasel. How cool is that? Like,
and it just drives me nuts that like don't let them get you down because they just don't understand.
Nah.
It's just it's exactly why like these are hung on my wall and like, you know, like
I love it. Yeah.
Horror everywhere. Like this is the stuff that is fun, and that's why again Nic Cage is a big seller for me for movies because I know especially after Mandy. I mean, always he has been. Don't get me wrong. Like I love all his movies. Sure. Especially turning into horror. Being such a big horror fan, and after seeing Mandy, I was like, this dude can do no wrong, man. And he's you know, he's like often lambasted for The Wicker Man. But then I'm like, but look at Mandy, look at Color of Space, which I'm not a huge fan of. He was really great in.
Yeah.
And
then it was cool to see Richard come back and direct the movie after what he went through. Did you see that documentary? Was it Lost Souls?
No.
You've got to see it. So it's the documentary on Richard Stanley and what he went through with the Island of Dr. Moreau and with Marlon Brando and Val Kilmer and what they did, what happened. Oh my God. John Frankenheimer, oh my God.
I can only imagine, man, honestly. Mm-hmm. And that is pretty cool for him to like kind of come back into the fold and do like H.P. Lovecraft story. Yeah.
I was happy to see him, you know. We got to support each other, man, the filmmakers, you know. This guy when you watch this documentary, you're going to be blown away with what happened to him.
Oh, I can only imagine, especially with everything you had to deal with along the way. Like, you know, it was funny. I was doing my research, and you and I have a weird connection. We both worked with Sean Young.
Really? What did you do with Sean?
I was a script soup on a project in like 2009.
Oh, okay.
It was very cool. And I was just telling a story to somebody recently on one of my shows about her, just like how down to earth, and she was like very cool. She was very calm, cool, collected.
Exactly. Same with me. I mean, you hear these stories and it's like, I don't know who they're talking about because she was doing exactly what you just said. She was a dream.
Oh yeah. True professional. I mean, she knows her craft, man.
Oh, for sure. It's so funny. I remember shooting a scene and she's like, okay, what do you have? What lens? You know, like she's very smart. Very smart. Yeah. Oh, for sure. We had a good time. It was a good time. Yeah.
I saw that and I was like, oh, this is the first filmmaker I've had on a show where like I have a connection. I was like, cool. You know, I've worked with somebody they've worked with, but so I had to bring it up. I had the Kevin Bacon 60.
Hey, Kevin Bacon or the Chris Farley. Remember Chris Farley on SNL? man, when you get so excited. I love that. I love that. Man.
Oh my God. Yeah. So you really like that, huh?
Yeah. It's funny. I want to say Chris Farley moment for me was when I was making The Method and my first movie, and I got Sean Patrick Flannery, Robert Forster. So I'm working with Robert Forster, and what a great guy. And he comes in and we're working and we're talking about the scene. I'm like, okay, and you're the dad and blah, blah, blah. And then you're going to go over here. And then I was like, oh my God, you're Dan from the Black Hole.
Yeah.
And he goes, yeah, oh, yes, Kevin. I was like, oh my God, I got a total geek moment. I was like, okay, all right, okay. So, anyways,
so
okay,
awesome.
go over here. It's like I love the Black Hole. I love that movie. I got all the action figures. That was a huge movie for me growing up, man. I don't care what people say about it. I love that movie. Actually, it was cool because I heard Joseph Kosinski was gonna remake it or something, and I was like, well, if anybody's gonna do it, I'll give it. I love Tron. I thought his Tron, second Tron was incredible, and Oblivion was awesome. Like he's got it. So I was like, all right, but I just love the Black Hole. So, anyways, I had a geek moment with Robert. I had a Chris Farley moment with
You'll appreciate this story. So I was living in LA, and my best friend from college was living with me. We're roommates, and he loves the Black Hole too. He's like, "Hey, it's playing at the theater. You want to go?" I was like, "Nah, I got stuff I got to do," and I kind of like dodged out of it. And he went, and he comes back. He's like, "I got a story for you, man." He's like, "Guess who was there?" And I'm like, "Who?" He goes, "Robert Forster." I was like, "Get it out of here!" He was watching the Black Hole, and he was just like, "Yeah, he was with his grandkids." And he's like, I stopped and told him how much I appreciate him. And he was, he tells me, he's like, he's very cordial, very nice. But he's like, I didn't know anybody liked this movie. I wanted to bring my grandkids to see it. I was like, really?
Oh, wow. That's cool. No, Robert was great. It's funny. When I was making The Method, he was telling me about how he was meeting Quentin Tarantino at Swingers, I think it was, every morning for breakfast or something. And Quentin's got a movie for him. And he's like, I don't know. We'll see what happens, and look at Jackie Brown.
Yeah. He was
amazing. How cool is that? Quentin's awesome, man. Told him he's got a movie for him, and he did it. Like, how cool is that?
Truly, like one of the best. Yeah, he was in one of my favorite movies from last year too, which was Wolf of Snow Hollow.
I've heard it. That's really good. I haven't seen that.
Check it out. It's so good. Jim Cummings does a great job.
Okay.
I think
cool.
You really enjoy it.
Yeah, so, I will.
What's next for you, man? What do you got going on after with Willie's?
So I've got a couple cool genre movies. I've got a really cool Halloween film that I'm working on. It's like a kind of a throwback to the Amblin days, and then I've got a horror action movie that I've got working on. It's really cool. I'm working with a good writer on that, and so that's gonna be awesome. So I've got some cool genre movies that I'm doing. I after this, buddy, seeing my kids, I got 4 kids and 2 are teens, and they were having a watch party with 30 of their friends the night it came out. And even my little boys, they've seen bits of the movie, of course, not the whole thing, but they're 5 and 7, but they draw the creatures for me all the time. They're drawing Willy all the time. Yesterday was my son's birthday, and he's like, are they Willy plushies? So, seeing that, I want to make movies that are fun. I want to talk to guys like you, hang out, talk film, and say, I love that you love the movie. Like, that just makes my day, So I want to make movies like that. With the political landscape and COVID going on, man, like, I feel like we need just to enjoy ourselves a little more, So those are the kind of movies I want to make,
And that's what it is, man. It really is. You hit on so many cylinders. I haven't met anybody who's watched it so far that didn't like it. We were even about it.
That's great.
Because we have a group here in our town. I didn't get to see it with them when they showed it. I saw it at the same theater, but it was a different time. It's called Psycho Cinema, and they show a lot of old movies.
Okay.
Newer horror comes out, especially if Nic Cage is in it. They show it. They're like, Nic Cage is like the mascot to this group. So Willie's was, when we heard about Willie's, it was like, yeah, game on. We're in, man.
Where are you located?
I'm in Winchester, Virginia.
Oh, Winchester, Virginia. Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's a very cool, like, artsy little town. But like, yeah, we love our movies, man, especially horror.
It's great.
And yeah, with this, I'm such a fan. I'm checking out more and more of your work because I'm going back and, I really want to, get to see it all. I have not seen The Method yet. I do want to check that out though.
Yeah. That was made by a kid right out of college, man. I went to USC Film School and we borrowed and stole a Panavision camera they lent us, and Disney helped us with post-production, and I shot it like in 12 days. So, but what's funny, you can't, all the movies I've done, they're very, they're low budget, Dark Heart, I shot in like 10 days. Like it's crazy. But the thing is, you can't have like a ticker at the bottom saying, okay, guys, it's funny because like I remember having a screening of Dark Heart at a film festival and coming out, and I hear someone saying, well, I like The Dark Knight better. And I'm like, well, yeah, I probably like The Dark Knight better too. And I directed this movie, but it's like, you can't compare, but yeah, you can, because they're just movies, So I can't have a ticker going, I only had $200,000, and like you can't. It's just there. It's the movie, So, it's kind of interesting, but yeah, I'm proud of a lot of the movies I've done. It's funny. I've been around a while, SC in the 90s, and when the independent movies blew open and everything, and then making films, through that. And I made a movie that Blockbuster picked up when Blockbuster was, big, They used to had a Hollywood Reporter, like the Killer Bees, and they had like a William Hurt Contaminated Man poster on one side of my movie Downward Angel on the other. And that's got Jonathan Banks in it, from Breaking Bad, and it's like I've been around, and I've done films, but I'm very proud of Willy's. I felt like when I did Willy's, it was like, man, this is like my last movie, I'm going out gonzo, just going to go out, And
oh man, we need lots more. If Willy's proved anything, we need lots more.
Oh, that's great. That's awesome.
Actually, if I can ask, because your first film was in 1996 and it was such a different time for filmmaking compared to now.
Yeah.
Like, you said 12 days for The Method, and I mean, you're shooting on film. And it's just a whole different way of life. And now shooting digital here, Willy's in 20 days. What's that like? So when you think back on it, like, is there any like big things you've learned along the way that, or learned from then till now, that you're like, this is just,
I mean, I love shooting films. I was doing photography. I shot still photography. I do darkroom. Like that's my jam, man. So I'm like, it's so funny because like I always think I'm like the analog guy in the digital world. I'd show up in Willy meetings and I'd have all papers and written stuff out or whatever, my notebooks, and everybody would just open their laptops and it's hilarious. I would make jokes about it, but I realized, buddy, like with my kids now, like before I'd be like, hey, watching Lawrence of Arabia on your phone, that's just a no. Like, just, you do not do that. But then, my son be like, yeah, I saw 2001. He watched it on his phone. And I'm just like, I want to just strangle him. But I realized, like, that's the culture, right? And it's like, evolve or die, right? Evolve or die. So, would I love to shoot Willy's on film? Sure. Would I have a great excuse to shoot it on film? Probably not. I know the producers be like, you're out of your freaking mind. We're not doing it, So I'm like, I'm not even going to go there. I think some movies are great to shoot on film. I think it just depends on what story you're going to tell, So for that, I hope film doesn't die. God bless Quentin and Spielberg. I mean, and Nolan, right? Like they're holding the torch. What's funny is I asked Nick that. I said, do you like film or digital? Because, he's old school. He's been around, man, and he said he liked digital. He likes it. He goes, there's times when I shot my films, I think he said was it on Birdie? I can't remember, but he was saying something, and it's like, the takes got messed up, in the lab. And that actually happened to me on a student film I worked that I did. The lab messed it up, and I had no money to go back and redo it. And I was working for John McTiernan, and I was interning at the time, and his wife, Donna Dubrow, paid to have my film, gave me money to go remake my student film on Super 16. So I did that, but, so, it's so cool talking to Nick, because he was like, yeah, he likes digital. So, now that I've done, the Drop with Sean Young, I did digital, but that was when it first came out. I had a Panasonic when it first started. but you know, it's opened the floodgates for a lot of people to get their movies made. Before, it's like you'd have to just shoot film, like you had to get all these resources, right? Now we're talking about shooting a movie on an iPhone. That's crazy, right?
Right. Yeah, and I mean it's coming back and forth between it, and yeah, it's funny because my kid is really into making movies right now, and
Great.
I'm trying to be very supportive. You know, not that I'm against it in any way, but I'm like trying to be supportive and help him and kind of coach him along the way. And as I go, you know, he shoots on phones. He's like collecting old phones and shooting, you know, the coverage and stuff as he goes there.
Wow.
And it's so crazy to me.
Yeah.
Just from like, even because I went to film school, I was acting for a long time and working on films since 2001, but really hands on, I started in like 2005, 2006.
Okay.
That's really when I got my start behind the camera. So to see like what I was learning then, you know, still doing film, but also, you know, getting into the digital world and digital cinematography of it all. And then to see like what my kid is doing when he's learning and what I have to learn to help coach him.
I know.
Go from there. It's so different. But it's, like you said, adapt or die, you know?
Yeah. How old's your son?
He's going to be 9 on Wednesday.
That's amazing. And he's out there doing that. See, that's cool. Like my daughter, she's 15. And she's like showing me on Snapchat and all this stuff and whatever, and this filter and that. And I'm just like, I give up, you know. It's a different world, man, you know, and it is evolve or die. And so shooting on digital with Willy's was great because I learned a lot. My last film I was shot on film, 35 mil, you know, so like this was, you know, but it was great, you know, and we're there now with the digital technology. Like, I understand, like David Fincher, he shoots digital, but then he does like this huge post thing, you know, where he spends time, you know, in post, and in indie film, of course, you can't do that, you know, and you know, but he's earned it, you know, but there's a lot of give and take for digital, you know, but I just think it depends on what story you're going to tell. What's your story? At the end of the day, right? It goes back to story. What's the story? What's the script? What are you going to tell? There's so much content out there now that, you know, is getting everybody's attention. And let's not even talk about the video games, because like my son's 16, he's a huge gamer, you know, and it's like, I'm like, hey, you want to watch RoboCop? He's like, no, I'd rather play Call of Duty, you know, and I'm like, okay. I did get him to watch RoboCop and he loved it. But that's the thing. It's like there's so much content out there now vying for everyone's attention. And that was my thing with Willy's too. Like, I knew it was a special movie. I knew it was going to be good. This was even before we shot it, but I was like, man, it's got to cut through the content out there because there's so much stuff out there, right? And it's just grabbing everyone's attention. How do we grab people's attention, you know? And so, you know, that's always thought about, you know, visual flair. And my friend Paul NJ Otteson did the sound design for the movie, and he won 3 Academy Awards for Hurt Locker and Zero Dark 30. And he did it as a favor and as a friend, and also he did, you know, he really liked the movie. But the cool thing is, like, okay, we're gonna get a great sound job, so like we're gonna be professional. It's gonna sound like a freaking studio movie. Great, okay, check. Like I was going through all this stuff, even like thinking about the story and going, if we can get into the psyche of why animatronics are scary, like why are clowns scary, you know, and that kind of ambivalence that the child feels with this big, you know, furry robot, you know, with eyes blink, you know, in the mouth. Like we can get into that, and I really researched that a lot of like what makes, you know, the kids scary stuff. I like, okay, we can tap into that. So my whole thing was make this thing authentic as possible with like showcasing Chuck E. Cheese, you know, and people that have been there, of course, our generation are like, oh my God, yeah, that's what it is, you know. So all those little things and those details added to the story, you know, and added to how to tell the story. And so with what's going on with, you know, technology now, it's all about your story, you know, and you know, and it's just amazing how there's so many different mediums to tell it now. And that's incredible. Your son's 9 and he's a little filmmaker, a little Spielberg, you know. That's awesome.
Does, and his little brother, he's 4, he's running around. He's like, he wants to be the actor in it. So he's like, yeah, let's do this.
So cool. That's so cool.
It's really helped with like COVID, like them being isolated, just being able to like, do something, put stuff out. And I had to trick them today because, with his birthday on Wednesday, we got a private screening for a movie theater to go see The Croods at that Alamo.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
So I made an action trailer for him for his birthday.
Oh.
And I would have him shoot little scenes to cut between the stuff. And he's just like, what is this for? And I'm just like, nothing. It's for the site. Don't worry about it. So like I have to edit it all together. And he's just he's so
awesome.
Yeah, awesome. I am definitely an advocate for anybody who wants to get into filmmaking and like trying to help out. And it's such a beautiful art form, honestly.
It really is. It really is. Now the thing is, it's art and commerce when we talk about the movie business. And sometimes it's sad that commerce wins a lot. And so that's kind of a hard thing. It's funny because I've always thought like USC, going to film school, like they ought to have a class called Pass the Class, where you just have to understand what the word pass means and the depression that comes with it and get by it. You know what I mean? Like there's just, it's so funny, like your son, like he's 9 and the world's his oyster, and then you get older, and then you get the rejection or whatever, and it's like, hard, man, to deal with it as artists. We kind of wear our hearts on our sleeves, right? So and it's a miracle that any movie gets made in my book, because there's so much money that goes into it, and time and passion and people, and it's just people rake this film under the coals or rake this movie, and it's like, man, it's just no one sets out to make a bad movie. We all set out to make Citizen Kane, and sometimes you do and sometimes you don't, but I just think it's so cool though that your son is doing that. That's awesome.
Yeah, thanks, man. I appreciate that, and he's gonna love that, and he's gonna love hearing that too.
Yeah. Maybe he'll do his Willy's Wonderland one day. I can't wait to see it.
He wants to watch it so bad, and I'm like, maybe. I'm like,
yeah.
I'm maybe. My wife is like, I don't know right now. She still hasn't seen it, but she wants to. But she's like, she's like, I'll watch it with you. I'm like,
that's so funny. Do some editing. Do some editing on your own. That's okay. We'll let you edit the movie. Make it into a short.
No, I'm gonna enjoy it for what it is. Art form.
Cool. Yeah.
Listen, Kevin, man, this has been so amazing to have you on.
Yeah. Listen, great.
We do plenty of shows where we just talk movies, so you are always welcome back on the scene.
Oh, thank you, buddy. Definitely, I'll take you up on that for sure. Absolutely.
I'd love to have you. We had a game. The directors of Fat Man,
okay.
Ian Nelms and Blaine Weaver came on, and they've all directed Santa Claus movies. So we had the podcasters versus the filmmakers during our Christmas episode about who's a better like badass Santa, this person.
Oh, that's great.
So we try to treat it like a video store. Like you come, you hang out, we talk movies, and it'll be a good time. So,
love it.
Anytime, you're always welcome.
Thank you, buddy. Really appreciate it. Had a great time today.
Me too, man. This has been so great. I love Willy's Wonderland. I can't wait for more. Do a sequel. I need more from the Janitor, man.
All right. Well, let's hope the wife likes it. The wife's got to like it. So.
Well, I mean, Nic Cage already has her liking it. So
okay, good.
It's like you're in. But yeah, right. I appreciate you so much. I appreciate what you do.
Thank you, buddy.
It's just truly fantastic, and thank you for joining me on the show today.
Loved it.
Everybody, go check out Willy's Wonderland now. Like, if you didn't check it out before you checked out this interview, go. Get to it right now. But thank you so much. Is there anything else you want to promote as we go on, or?
No, I just hope you guys enjoy Willy's as much as we had. We had a great time making it. I want you guys to have fun and just to enjoy the ride. And hopefully there'll be more adventures of the Janitor here. So.
Dude, I cannot wait. It's going to be so much fun. But yeah, everybody go check it out. And you can check out more from us. Go over to thescenesnobs.com. You can check out any one of our shows any day of the week. And we appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And that's our show, everybody. Thanks for listening. I am Mick Manhattan, the Scene Snob. We always appreciate you guys tuning in and commenting along and everything else. Go check out this show or any of our other shows on thescenesnobs.com. Thescenesnobs.com. We love you. You guys are awesome. And if you would like, follow and subscribe to our social media. That really helps us go a long way. And please spread the word. Tell your friends. Have them come in. We love feedback and everything else. So everybody, you have a great day. Again, thanks for listening. TheSceneSnobs.com. Take care, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.